Senior Republicans have echoed Mr. Trump's condemnation of the search of his home in Florida. Some have insisted Congress will launch a formal investigation if the Republicans win November's midterm elections. Mike Johnson is a Republican congressman serving Louisiana's 4th District. He's the vice chairman of the House Republicans, and he's one of those who thinks the FBI's actions constitute an abuse of power. He explained to me why.
The raid appears to us to be yet another abuse of power by the Biden-Garland Department of Justice here in the U.S. It's the latest and perhaps the most egregious in an established pattern that we have seen of these kinds of abuses. It's a distressing thing for us to see because it erodes our people's faith in the system of justice itself.
But this raid, as you call it, had nothing to do with the White House. The FBI was acting with a search warrant that would have been a sign-off from an independent judge.
Perhaps they've not allowed us any insight or information into this. The White House, of course, has disclaimed any knowledge of this, but that is suspect to us because they have not been forthright with us, even under oath in our hearings. The Attorney General himself, Merrick Garland, has presented what I believe to be blatantly false information to our House Judiciary Committee. And so we view this with a lot of cynicism and suspicion.
The FBI director overseeing this, Christopher Wray, was hired by Donald Trump himself.
He was, and he has not always been completely forthright with us either. We've had a problem with this Department of Justice, which of course oversees the FBI, in how they have used the DOJ for partisan political purposes.
It's a tried and tested technique, of course, isn't it, of Donald Trump to amplify allegations of a conspiracy against him that does fire up his supporters, especially ahead of a potential candidacy for 2024.
He is, of course, has the freedom to message this however he wants, but regardless of what Donald Trump says, or for that matter, what people believe about him personally, this is an assault on our system itself. This is an unprecedented act. It seems to us to be a blatant violation of his due process. You know, he's the former president of the United States. We're in the midst of a very fateful election cycle. Those in charge of the Department of Justice should have measured all of these things. We can debate the merits of a subpoena. I'm a lawyer. There's ways to do this. You could have subpoenaed the documents. There are many ways to approach this without the optics and the glaring partisan political appearance of this raid on his home.
There are those who say that this is proof that the system is working. Don't you believe the White House when it says it was unaware of the search before it happened?
Remember, this is the same Department of Justice that has turned a blind eye to the president's own son, Hunter Biden, with all of his various activities and things that he's been involved in. They've also turned a blind eye to persons in the Democrat Party, leaders like Hillary Clinton over the years, her email server. There are many events that have taken place that have led to this.
If the former president were proved to have taken official documents and put them in a safe in his Florida residence, what would you think? Would you simply refuse to believe it if it were proven?
Listen, we are willing and interested in following the truth wherever it leads. But you have to understand, under the federal statutes in our country, the president has wide latitude on what documents he wishes to declassify, which documents he wishes to maintain for his own memoirs, etc. There are processes in place to turn those over to National Archives at appropriate times. But there's a broad array of discretion that a president has in handling those things. And again, President Trump himself has said, our former president has said, that he is willing to allow those documents to be reviewed.
You seem to be part of a very broad base in the Republican Party speaking out in support of the former president today. Is that a sign that he retains the overall support of the party and could be your candidate next time around?
If the former president chooses to run again, he will be a top-tier candidate, quite obviously. He'll be a formidable candidate. That decision is not yet made. But again, our concern today is about maintaining the appearance of impropriety, the appearance of a fair judicial system.
Mike Johnson, who is vice chairman of the U.S. House Republicans.